Second, we want to make sure each candidate's microphone is working, and each candidate can say hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Fresh strawberries.
Okay, okay.
Wait, hold on, Paul's gotta fix this.
We have one.
Hey, Paul, say something again.
Hello.
Okay, there you go.
The reason, can everybody hear me? This whole, forum is gonna be on Zoom, so please silence your phones right now. So there's no back information, noise. Okay, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Sandy Benz, and, Margie and I live in Troon Lake, so we've lived here about 12 years. I was president of Troon for 6 years, and now I'm treasurer. It's a great job. If anybody's interested in coming to Troon, we have some homes for sale. I'm also chairman of the President's Council. It's made up of all the presidents of the HOAs and the condos who share best practices among themselves to better operate their community. This is a very important election. We have 7 candidates running for 3 offices, which is the first time, as far as I know, we have that many candidates running for the offices. Happy to see so many of you here, and we're going to meet the candidates, and the way this is going to operate, I'm going to give you a little information so you know what's going to happen, and then we'll introduce all the candidates. With me today, I'm very fortunate, Richard Benson is here as our timekeeper. He's a former Olympic timekeeper. And he's hoping for the Blue Olympics in Port Paris, right? So,
It'll be on my LinkedIn page.
there you go, there you go.
We have old technology.
A lot of people have asked me the question before we get to the candidates, how is it going to work? I'm going to read this to you so everybody gets it very clear. The questions submitted by members, the presidents have submitted questions. I'm going to give them to each candidate one at a time, alphabetical order. I'm going to give the first question to the first candidate and the second question to the second candidate, and they'll rotate through the answers. The questions have been sorted prior to coming today. Paul and I have looked at them to take ones that are similar and put them together. Otherwise, there are a lot of very same questions, so we can boil it down to the main question. Candidates will have up to, begin with a 2-minute presentation to talk about who they are and what their thinking is. You've all received the resumes, it was online, I'll go through any questions about that. Okay, so then, once we get to the questions, the candidates will have 1 minute to answer the question. Then, when that's all done, it's open to the floor. When it's open to the floor, you'll please come up to the podium, state your name, where you live, and then you can give your question to the board. Okay, those are basically the general rules. Anybody have any question on the rules?
Sam, you might want to clarify. When it's 15 seconds left till the end, that will happen. At the end.
You're done. Paul spared no expense. Here we go. Okay, any questions on how it's going to operate? The people watching from Zoom, they cannot ask questions. It's not set up there. So all the questions will come from here. Okay, we have 7 candidates. One candidate, Harry, is going to be here on Zoom when we get to him. So I'm going to ask each candidate to give their name and the community they live in. Starting with you, Jim.
Jim Carter, Watercress.
Harry is not here. Harry Covington lives in
Savannah.
Savannah.
Orlando Ferrer, Hospital. I'm George Justice, Mount Fairport. Brian Methadone, Egrets. Paul Petnero, the Estates.
Uwe Roper, Le Chateau.
Okay, those are our 7 candidates for the 3 seats. Questions, we've divided into 3 areas. The first is general, then fitness, and court sports. Yeah, court sports for there. Okay, first question is going to be given to Jim. Oh, wait,
Opening statement.
okay, opening statement. Yeah, opening statements. Okay, Jim, you're on for your opening statements. You've got 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandy. Welcome to everybody that's here this afternoon. I am delighted that we have 7 candidates running for 3 positions for the board of directors. It's healthy. Every time we have an election, I think we need to see the same kind of turnout, whether it's a CGD or the Pelican Marsh Foundation. I lived in Pelican Marsh for 22 years in the community of Watercress. I have been very active externally in the community. I served on the Board of County Commissioners for a term. I was chair for 2 years. All through whatever I've done, I've always focused on community character. What it is you want to look like. And for that, you need the plan to determine where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. I applied those principles when I was a county commissioner, and that's why we have probably one of the best looking counties in the state of Florida, because we established sign control, we established local education, we did all the things that make you look like a good community. In Pelican Marsh, in serving on this board, the first time I initiated the planning process between the community, the board, and the outgrowth of that is we ended up with the President's Council, we ended up with community newspaper, we ended up with community activities director, because we needed to utilize, if you could believe it, at that time, this community center. Now, the second time around, we were up against, and we did the survey of, should we have a restaurant in Bar and Pelican Marsh? We did the surveys, we got the input of the community. And my job at that time was to make sure that we had a realistic budget to build this facility. Now, we know the outcome has been terrific. So, as we move forward, we have to remember everything that we do has cause and effect. You can't do this well without a plan. We need to integrate everything that we've been doing and what we want to do because the needs exceed the capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. The next, Harry Covington, it's gonna be a Zoom, so please be quiet, so, there's no feedback, okay? Paul's gonna bring up the Zoom. Harry, not make it.
Whoops, hold on.
Actually, it's a video.
Hold on here, we gotta get the sound on here. I know, hold on. All right, we gotta figure out what's going on, because it was working a while ago.
Should we go forward and come back?
Yeah, I guess we'll come back to him.
We're gonna, have our technician figure this out, so we're gonna come back to Harry. So Orlando, your turn.
Well, thank you, Sandy. I see many familiar faces in there. And also many new ones. Thank you for the presence. I'm really thrilled to be on. And before I start, I would like to introduce Susan. E14 are the closest to. The copy at our teaching table talking about part of the matters. We met Susan when I was 19 years old. I am now 64. We moved to Pelican Marsh 21 years ago. We're here year-round residents. Marsh is our home. Our son grew up here, riding his bicycle around campus. Played tennis with many people that I see here today. I have been on the tennis committee since 20. Along here, we still need to. So why am I running? I know we're here for one reason only. We care about our community. I have seen the heart and soul of our neighborhood beat with passion over the years. We have a vibrant community, we have great community. Ahead of us, and in my journey is just about the worst. I'm putting on your voices, your opinions, your concerns. Commitment, transparency, collaboration, and progress. Let's not just talk about change. Let's be change together. Join me on the new board in shaping a future where every voice matters, every idea, every neighborhood counts. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming, and thank you, Cindy, and people for hosting this. It's great. I would be telling that we all March 2020 purchase of Montclair. Come from Poughkeepsie, New York, and we have 2 grown children and 2 young grandsons. Went to college at the State University of New York, Potsdam, majored in computer science, and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in 1983. Was then hired by IBM Corporation, where I worked several positions for 14 years. I left IBM to form a startup company that developed software applications for the healthcare industry. And I've since become a partner in a small software company that provides software applications catering to the needs of all things, tennis clubs and tennis facilities. Over the years, I served on the board of directors to the Poughkeepsie Tennis Club in Poughkeepsie, New York, for 5 years, 2 of them as president. Using my computer software experience and P&L background, I believe I helped the club stay in the black. Currently, given my experience with tennis club management software, as I participated in and eventually chaired the Pelican Marsh Information Technology Committee under President Steve Burke. The committee evaluated the foundation's existing software products and determined the technology requirements needed to efficiently and effectively manage the community. Recently, I was approached by board members and other Pelican Marsh friends asking if I'd be interested in serving on the foundation board. I believe that my experience would be an asset. I would like to give something back to this community, which everyone here really knows. We have wonderful facilities, lots of friendly, great, talented people here. Be my honor. So, with that being said, I do not have any underlying agenda to be on. My wife and I play tennis regularly. We try to develop Marsh because of the active and vibrant tennis program, but we also learned to play and enjoy pickleball too. We use the fitness facility regularly, frequent the courtside restroom. We're very happy with the outstanding amenities Pelican Marsh has to offer. So I'll add a little more information. Thank you. Thank
Thank you, George. Okay, next is Brian. You're up.
Yep, Brian Hahn, live in the Egrets, along with my wife Karen. We came to Pelican Marsh 4 years ago. 3 years ago, we decided to move here full time. We have 3 adult children. I retired about 4 years ago after 34 years, mostly in accounting and finance. I worked 26 years for Hess Corporation. Once again, first part of my career was closing the books, preparing financial statements and so forth. I then migrated the last half of my career into business development, process management, M&A type work, business development. I held certificates in project management professional. I was a 6-sigma black belt. For those who are not familiar, is about process improvement. That's something that's a key focus of my career. I led many multi-million-dollar projects for Hess and for my second company. I worked for Centrica. Those were mostly around M&A activities, acquisition of companies, around system implementations. That included doing things such as due diligence, integration with the parties that we acquired. I also spent 5 years on my local baseball board, 2 years of those as the treasurer of that board. I coached well over 1,200 youth sports games through the years for my kids, mostly in soccer and baseball. Here at Pelican Marsh, I enjoy playing tennis, pickleball, bocce. I read a lot. I enjoy going to the beach. For the last 2 years, I've been fortunate enough to be on the pickleball advisory committee. The last year I served as the chairperson. I also volunteer at St. Matthew's House, where I repair furniture for resale. I will say, as we get close to closing here, I think I have the skill sets to help the community. I really would love to see us build additional amenities for the community, and I hope you take a vote.
Thank you, Brian. Paul?
Good afternoon, my name is Paul Petno, I live in the States. We've been in Naples for 8 years now, and we've lived in Franklin Marsh for 2 years. I have no speech prepared, I'm sorry, I'm going to be boring. But what I have to say is the following. I realized very early in my life that when you care, you get involved. I've been a business owner for 35 years. I've been involved in many charitable foundations because I cared. When we lived on the other side of 41 at Bay Colony, I decided to get involved because I cared. I'm still the chair of the tennis committee over there. I'm on the finance committee of Bay Colony. And I am fiscally ultra conservative. My wife would qualify that as being cheap. Now that we live over here at Pelican Marsh, I play tennis basically 6 days a week over here. I prefer Pelican Marsh to the tennis facilities and the people in Pelican Marsh to the people in Bay Colony. That's why I decided to get involved. And from what I've heard, we are at a crossroads. And the most important thing that I want to do today is thank the existing board and especially the members who are going to leave. Back a few years ago, there were not enough members. They were still able to put a board together, and I think they did an awesome job. So for me, very much for doing what you are trying to do. Wanting to get involved with economy is the one very simple put. With Pelican Marsh, one very simple reading. We have limited space here, and we host facilities, the community center, fitness facilities, the tennis and the pickleball. Pickleball wants to grow. I am all in favor of seeing the pickleball facilities grow, but not at the expense of tennis, or the community center, no budget.
Thank you, Paul. You're next. First name pronounced is?
My wife Helen and I moved to Florida 4 years ago, one place to fish out boats. We were fortunate enough to sell our engineering business. The word Pelican Marsh even more than we thought. We bought the Pelican Marsh because we love the active community feel, the great facilities, and the relatively low fees. We believe that this community center that we're sitting in and the sports facilities, the activities are a tremendous asset. And this asset is something that adds value to every property in this community. So therefore, investing and continuing to manage this asset well is really important for every homeowner in the community and for us as a community, the ones that use it as like. So I know there's currently a debate on pickleball and expanding pickleball facilities. I absolutely believe that not only is it worthwhile to expand pickleball facilities, but that we can do it. And if I get elected to the board, I will work very hard with the rest of the board members to see that done. I believe it will pay off for the community. I don't support taking away tennis courts for pickleball. I believe we can put more pickleball in here without taking away tennis facilities. And I think we can do that by raising money. I think the budget that the board has is too small to do what we need to do with this facility. So we have to plan a little further, a little longer, and expand the budget. And I think ultimately we have to go in the community and raise several $1 million to expand this facility. And I think it's a good investment. It's a good investment, not just for the users of the facility. I think it's a good investment for every household.
Thank you very much.
I'm still trying to work on this. Give me a 5-minute
Okay,
break.
we're gonna wait for, Paul's kind of bring up Harry's video. Okay, I'm gonna go over this once again, what's gonna happen now, I'm gonna read the questions, so you understand how this is gonna work. The questions I will read, and then we'll start with the first question with Jim, and then he'll have 1 minute to answer. If a candidate mentions another candidate's name, in his response, that other candidate will have an opportunity to respond in 15 seconds. You understand where I'm going with that? Okay. Now, again, once we go through these series of questions, and we ask everybody to kind of, obviously, you have to hold your questions before they present everything. And each of them will answer, then we'll have the floor, and person wants to speak at the podium here. That way everybody can hear it out. Okay, are we ready?
As I understand the question they asked, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond.
Correct. That's where I'll-
I'm ready for it.
So, we divided the questions into general questions, fitness, and course last. Okay, great, first question, Jim, first question. Should be a full-time resident to be most effective in governing the affairs of Pelican Marsh.
I think it depends on the role of the board. I would prefer they would be a full-time resident. But if you have someone that is here 70% of the time and for all the major meetings, and they're a great contributor to the board and to the community, I wouldn't want to lose their talent. Yes, I would prefer full-time, but I would not eliminate someone who was very good and very good at input and knowledge on the subjects to be on the board.
Thank you. Harry is not here. Orlando, you're up. 1 minute.
Sure. I'd like to endorse Jim's thoughts on that. Jim, I think he's right on the money. I think it all depends on the candidate and their commitment to be present when they're needed. For example, in the tennis committee, we have a couple of folks who are remote, and I can tell you that they are outstanding. They're always there. When they're needed, their ideas flow. They're quick to get back to us. Now, at the board level, where the complexity is much more significant, definitely at least, I would say 75%, and I agree with you, Jim, of the time being down here and making a strong commitment to be present. I think also we could improve the way we schedule those meetings and how we work together within the board. Based on what I've heard, sometimes coordinating those meetings is not as smooth as it should. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with the first two candidates, that it's really quality, not quantity, and with today's workforce, we see working remotely very effectively through use of technology. I would agree with that. And I'll go on record saying I am not a full-time resident here. I spend a good 4 to 5 months away from Pelican Marsh, but I would be involved in every board meeting and active with the community in other ways.
Yeah, I also agree. As long as somebody has their heart and soul, have dialed in to be part of the process, I see no reason why they can't fulfill those responsibilities remotely.
Thank you.
I am a full-time resident and I still manage businesses and have to travel. I do it all remotely, so I have absolutely no problem with people working or being on the board remotely. But I think there should be at least one board member who's permanent resident, so he can see the level of activity of all the facilities that we have to offer. And I know that's already the case, so I don't have a problem with board members not being permanent residents.
I think you have to divide the board into those offices and those are just board members. So the offices, especially the president, has to be here, in my view. The president has to be here because the president has to interact with our staff team on an almost daily basis, if not at least weekly basis. That's very hard to do if you're working remotely. But just for the function of being a board member, I absolutely think you can do that remotely and participate in those meetings. For the role of president, absolutely, in my mind, you have to be in the community.
Thank you all. I started out with the easy question. Okay, now we're gonna get into the real meat of this. Ready? Harry, we're still working on Harry, so Orlando, you'll ask the question first, and we'll pass it around.
Okay.
Okay? Again, these questions came from residents in the community. They were not written by any of us. I'll read the question. Fiscal responsibility is an important aspect of our Pelican Marsh board. What members may like to see developed is often in conflict with what our current budget allows. Based on your personal financial experience, what is your position on developing projects such as that the costs do not adversely compromise our reserve, capital, or replacement budget funds and will not require special assessments? I would reread that question if you'd like me to. There's a lot of beating there. Okay, I'm gonna break it down to the first part, second part, and third part. Okay. Fiscal responsibility is an important aspect of our appellate marsh work. What members may like to see developed is often in conflict with what our current budget allows. That's a statement. Based on your personal financial experience, what is your position in developing projects, new amenities or improving amenities, such that the costs do not adversely compromise our reserve capital or replacement budget funds and will not require special assessment? Boiling it down, this person is asking what you feel about special assessments.
I don't like them. Honestly, I don't like it. In my bio, which I circulated, I put 7 bullets that I would focus on. The number 1 bullet, it has to do with financial transparency and stewardship. I think that if you have a long-term plan, and you know the milestones, and you know what the projects are, we can plan anything. We can keep it within the reasonable budget that is affordable for our community. So what I don't like is all of a sudden special assessment because somebody emotionally wants to have a swimming pool. So my point is, fiscal responsibility is key. I think many years ago, when I first moved in here, I was very happy with the fiscal responsibility that the board members had back then. I was never worried. I was feeling so comfortable because of the way they handle our money. Thank you.
Just move on down the line.
Sure. I think the person who asked the question sort of answered it. You don't spend money you don't have. And to reiterate what the first two said again, which I was going to expand on in my introduction is, I think the thing we need here is a strategic plan. It doesn't have to be a formal SWOT analysis, people are familiar with that sort of thing, but a strategic plan that's followed and it's modified yearly. If you stick to the plan, if you identify your strategy, your tactics, how you're going to get things done, fiduciary responsibility just comes naturally. So I think that's about the way I saying this.
I think the board has to be the adults in the room, right? You know, there's a specific interest in terms of doing a project that doesn't benefit the community either based on their value, their property values, or an amenity they're going to use. I think you really have to challenge whether or not an assessment should be used at that time. A special assessment should be used for something that affects the majority of the community.
Thank you.
The way I understand the question is whether we personally like or dislike assessments. I think it's a very unfair question. I said I'm cheap, but you cannot rule out special assessments. What if we get hit by another hurricane? So I believe that it's unrealistic to say no special assessments. Now, when it comes to the future of Penguin Marsh, I agree with some of the comments. We have to look at the long-term strategic development plan for this community in this area, with all the sports that we have and with the community center, and take a hard look at to what we believe in the future. And I would like to do that in a very reasonably and fiscally responsible way. But am I going to roll it out? Absolutely not. But I don't agree necessarily with you when he says we need several $1 million to spend on pickleball.
So, let me put it back to my perspective, Chief. This is an asset. And if we put money into an asset, we have to be sure that that asset increases in value. Let's say you have a house and you want to do a house renovation or you want to do a kitchen renovation. You will think about whether it's worthwhile spending that money on doing a kitchen renovation before you do it. I think the same applies to this foundation. If we invest in this asset, we want to invest in this asset because it makes it more attractive, more valuable. Attracts more buyers, it scores points with real estate agents and ultimately brings that property value. So I think we need to benchmark any investment we make, especially if it's a larger investment, as to whether we will get that money back in home values or in other ways, by making that investment.
Thank you.
Yeah, we already have a mechanism in place, but we really never should have to do special assessments. First of all, first time I was on this board and president of voluntary alone, our first objective was we paid off this community center. We said we wanted to get it done in 3 years, we got it done in 2. We took all the resale fields and applied.
Excuse me, Jim, it's not your turn. I apologize. It is. Oh, you're the last one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. I'm sorry, I apologize, everybody.
The mechanisms there, or the list there, all resale fees go to capital, reserves, or a small amount to operation. And there's no need, if you had a hurricane, you had a disaster, and here the insurances and everything, really protect the community so it wouldn't have to go to a special assessment. Could something happen that might necessitate that? Yes, but I don't believe there's any project that we should undertake with the facilities and what we have to work with that we would ever go to the community for a special assessment. And if we did, we should go there and ask their permission to do it.
Thank you. Sorry, Jim. Okay, next question, which will start, let me see, George, okay? This kind of ties into it. Do you support the financials being reported quarterly and printed in the Pelican March brief and the year-end actuals with the 5-year trend by page and line reporting?
I'm not aware of how the financials are currently distributed, I'll be honest with you. It sounds like a good plan. Is this a question to increase the frequency or?
I'll read the question. Do you, and again, this was submitted by a resident, do you support the financials being reported quarterly and printed in the Pelican Marsh brief and the year-end actuals with the 5-year trend by page and line reporting? I believe, Steve, you're here, are the financials all being reported every year? On the web. On the website? They're on the website.
There's a monthly treasure report.
Monthly treasurer's report, it's in there. So, I'm gonna forget this question. We're gonna move on to the next. Okay, you should have checked.
He's still next? Is
Yes.
he still next?
Yeah, you're still up. Yeah, that was an easy one. What skills do you possess that you feel would improve the Pelican Marsh board?
Okay, as I mentioned in my introduction, I come from a software development background. I participated in the IT committee. I think, software helps to make things more efficient, more equitable, and can help the foundation. And I can help in that particular area. I also come from a startup background where I had to wear a lot of hats. I had to understand email very quickly. I had to understand many aspects of business. So having that experience in startup, having corporate experience, and my software experience, I think brings something to the table.
I'm going to pause here for a second, because the next question really relates to this first question we just had. I'm going to come back. What skills do you possess that you feel would improve the Pelican Marsh board? And the next question is, what exactly do you want to do on the board for the community? I think they're blended together. So if you'd like to re-answer that question, what skills? Yeah, go around? Okay, we'll go around. Okay, so it's kind of 2 questions in one.
Thanks for that.
So from a skill perspective, I mentioned some of my professional background. First, in accounting and finance, which is really the basis for my career. I have a very collaborative management style. As I was coordinating different efforts within my companies, oftentimes there was points of view that did not mesh. In terms of, traders wanted one feature of the system, accountants wanted another feature, so forth. So being able to listen to the needs of multiple individuals, try to gear people towards a collaborative decision using decision models that take into account the cost of an item as well as the benefits to the community. I think those are the types of experiences I can bring to the table.
I went to business school in France. I'm a triple finance major from Columbia University. I worked for Eli Lilly, I worked for Merrill Lynch. I got tired of the corporate world and decided to go out and start my own businesses. The first thing I learned very early is that if you want to make it in life, you will have to save pennies, forget saving dollars. As I said, I'm cheap. As far as my skills are concerned, I am honestly very good with numbers. That's why I was selected to be on the finance board of Bay Colony. But I am in the people business. I've been in the people business for 30 years. My skill, I am an operator and I know how to bring people together and work with them and make it a business success.
I think we have to remember it's volunteer work. So the people that serve on this board are community members, they're trying to make this community better. And I think sometimes the board gets a lot of input from the community and needs, just like this. And I've watched board members, being, I don't want to use the word attack, but questioned very harshly sometimes. I think for the board to function, it needs a great level of collaboration among the board members. And I think understanding of the community, and it needs to be communicated back to the community, so that, we talked about assessments, for example. You can never do an assessment, you're not legally allowed to do an assessment without going back to the community, so you can't just impose an assessment on the community. So it's important to have great collaboration, for respect from the community, respect to the community, good communication with the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next question, and we're gonna. Oh, Jim. I forgot about you guys. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
My background and skills have always been in planning, communications, team building kind of stuff. I have a PhD in business administration, but I don't let that get in the way of practical application. And pulling people together, getting them to think through situations and have great communications, not only among the board of the planning process, but it involves everybody out there. You need to be working with us. We need you because you have a lot of talent and a lot of skills to present. And I think as a member of the board, I would again encourage to take all what has been done by the past board, begin to integrate this into a more thorough master plan, a 5-year plan that says, this is what we can do and this is how we can do it. Keeping in mind, we do not want to change the character of this campus. We don't start tearing down buildings. We don't start moving things around, which can be hugely expensive and end up with poor results. So I figure my contribution, if I'm back on the board, is to facilitate and work with all board members and the community to accomplish that goal.
Thank you, Jim. I'm an industrial assistant engineer, but when I graduated, I didn't work as an engineer. I immediately went into the oil and gas business in the oil fields. And from there, I went into trading. I was trading oil, crude oil, gasoline, jet fuel for a long time, nearly 23 years. And then after that, I had to run marketing operations overseas. And then when Chevron and Texaco merged, a group of us, about 60 or 70 of us, were basically taken to San Ramon, California, the Chevron headquarters office, where we had to review the entire midstream business. What is midstream? Refining, marketing, distribution, storage, and trading. And through that exercise, with nearly 70 people or so on why, we had to collaborate. We had to find solutions, which divest and increase our business. I think I have the skills that develop the community, but I think I have, more importantly, the behaviors. Skills can be learned, but behaviors usually don't change. So that's what I want to do right in this message. I will do this.
Thank you. Everybody answer the question? Yep. Yeah. Okay. What has been done right at Pelican Marsh and what has been done wrong? Brian, you're first.
The 7-part last question.
Oh, Should I reread it?
We have the second part.
Well,
The second part.
these kind of blend together a lot of these questions, so, let's go with this. What has been right at Pelican Marsh and what has been done wrong?
I don't think it's the same question at all.
You don't think, it's
You
okay,
said that there was a two-part.
okay, then we'll give Brian an opportunity, or,
The first part was.
okay, what skills do you possess that you feel would improve the Pelican Marsh Board? And what exactly do you want to do on the board for the community?
I think you did that.
I mean, you did the second part. The second part of
Yeah.
the.
Either one, however you want to answer.
Okay, we'll do the second part then. I think you have to start with what Jim was referring to. It's our responsibility to safeguard the look and feel of Pelican Marsh. I mean, that's what we all fell in love with. You know, personally, and, you know, many of you heard me speak at the last, board meeting, you know, I would like to see us add additional amenities to the community. I think there's an opportunity, of course, we have to talk about, but, there's an opportunity one way or the other to add, pickleball, to look at multi-purpose rooms or, gym expansion, in the short term. And I also think that we have an opportunity to look at some of the parking constraints that we have, the short-term parking things that we can do today to ease some of the strain on the parking lots during season. And I think we have to look at some of the long-term solutions that have been looked at in the past and revisit them.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I'm confused. Which question are we I'm confused.
Okay, would you like to answer that again?
Well, which question are we?
Okay, the second part is, what exactly do you want to do on the board for the community?
What I want to do on the board for the community, I want to.
Thank you.
The goal for anybody who gets involved with the board ultimately is to enhance what Pelican Marsh has to offer. I'm not going to get into the specific details because I believe that's part of the long-term planning program that we need to put in place here, which I've been told exists, but I'm not sure it really exists. So I really want to reserve the answer to this question. All I can say is that I believe I have something to offer to the board in general. As a small business owner, you have to be able to build consensus with the team. That is my strength, bringing people together.
Thank you. Thank you. I blended it. Okay, you're next. We're finished.
I want to bring two things. One is maximize property values in Pelican Marsh through the board and by making good decisions on the board. And secondly, to maximize the enjoyment factor of the foundation facilities by, maintaining the extremely high level of participation we have and the diverse and excellent number of programs that we put on that I believe create a huge enjoyment factor and a draw.
Thank you.
Steve. What I would bring to this board again is I am a community historian. One other person in the room has been here longer than I am, and we've worked together for a long time. I think the boards over time have done a good job, but we're at a juncture now where we need to take all that we know, all that has been done, look at that, what can we do short range as far as scheduling what we have, and then look longer range, if we're going to change something, what are the pros and cons in doing it? And once we have, for example, like 22 proposals on pickleball, it has to be distilled down as something the board can wrap their arms around and say, we would like to recommend this to the community. For whatever major changes we envision doing, we need you to give us the input on what you prefer us to do. Because we can't make these decisions in isolation. My job, if I'm back here with the catalyst to do these kinds of things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to endorse movement on the appreciation of our property for granting. I think that would be our number one charge. I would make that a priority if I'm elected for more. I would also like to be able to get Pittman Marsh to the point where Pittman Marsh is the community of choice in North Naples. Because of our operating expenses, because of the type of members we have in our community, and the increase of our amenities. I do believe that there is room to expand our amenities, but never at the expense of an existing.
Yes, I just want to reiterate what's already been said by myself and others here, that a long-term plan is probably the most important thing we need, and would be my number one goal as a board member. I'd also like to say that I believe as the type of person I am, communication skills I have, I'd like to say that this would be a transparent board, and that we communicate well with the members. That's also secondarily important.
Thank you. I think we completed those two questions. Next question. Do you support subsidizing the Courtside restaurant through the Pelican Marsh Master HOA fees? That would be all the way down. That would be Paul, I'm sorry, Paul. I'll read the question again. Do you support subsidizing the Courtside restaurant through the Pelican Marsh Master HOA fees?
Everybody's been talking about maximizing property values. If you want to maximize property values, I do believe that you have to have a facility like Courtside. There are very few communities where the restaurant operations are not subsidized. The main question is, in my opinion, what level of subsidy are we talking about? So yes, I would be in favor of a subsidy. I reserve my answer when it comes to the dollar amounts.
I'd like to echo what Paul said. We already have had a situation where we did subsidize the restaurant big way. The board took drastic steps to change vendors. That was very successful. We have, I believe, a very small subsidy going to the facility. But we did build it. It was Pelican Marsh Foundation money that went into building that facility. So you can consider that a subsidy if you like. So I support some level of subsidy, but I think we need to work hard to minimize that amount of subsidies.
Jim?
Yes, there is some level of subsidy. We have a great operator now. What you're trying to do is to get it to be the smallest amount of subsidy. But going into this, we all knew from the board, from the community, that this operation would not sustain itself on its own. Season, yes, out of season, no. So it's a reality. If you're gonna have this kind of an operation, and it's a part of the community that everybody enjoys, you're gonna pay some subsidy for it in all points.
Thank you. I definitely like to echo the previously mentioned as far as the subsidy. I think it's a function of I think that the amenity restaurant has brought new buyers into our market. I'm really directly from them, people that have come here to rent, and then they eventually mention, well, this is an amenity here. I think I'm going to go and buy it here. Now, the size of the subsidy is a concern to me, quite frankly, because I do not know the particulars of the current revenue of this current business. I understand that it's very successful so far, and the subsidy required is small, as we all have pointed out. I would like to get to know a little bit more about the details of what's going on there and see how much further we can take as far as the realistic revenue. And I think we're going to eventually get to a point where you are maxed out, then from there we can decide if the subsidy is needed.
Yes, community food service is an amenity, plain and simple, and amenities like tennis, like pickleball, like everything else, often require subsidies, especially to get started. We remember how we got started with the food service, and I think most of us can say we've come a long way. We're very happy that it exists. And whether it's small amount we're currently paying because of the success of that food service, I think most people are well.
Yeah, the question's interesting because it almost discounts the fact that we do indeed pay a subsidy, and our treasurer reports out on a monthly basis. I'm in favor of having a subsidy. I'm in favor of supporting that, as you guys have all indicated, that really, it's just all part of having an amenity, and that amenity has value above and beyond just the bottom line of the restaurants, how the restaurant does on a month in, month out basis. You know, it leads to appreciation of our real estate values. And we didn't really answer the question, we kind of skipped over it again, but, when you think about the major accomplishments of the last board and what they did well, I mean, bringing food services to our community is a major accomplishment.
Everybody, that's it? Okay, we're good, we're good. Thank you.
I just want to compliment them on their use of the.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job, thank you. Okay. I kind of. Good choice.
You just want to turn the bell out, let's get subsidized.
Tough question to read. Do you support metal roofing in the community? You want a little background on that? Steve, can you give us a little background? The question is, do you support metal roofing in the community, how it came up? Most people know it. Yeah,
We'll
repeat that. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question. Do you support metal roofing in the community? And most people are not even aware of what we're talking about. Can you give a couple sentences of background?
Yeah.
No.
The issue at hand is the request by a condo association who's currently facing a complete renovation to put raised seam metal roofing on their condos. And the board has considered and approved tentatively a measure to allow the condo associations only to have metal roofing. Now, as many of you know, Claremont already has metal roofing on their condos, but there is no intent at this time to allow metal roofing in the neighborhoods. That is, the single family homes are still, would not be eligible. Is that clear?
That's great. I think Steve answered the question for everybody. Does anybody want to comment about metal roofs?
Well, I'll gladly take the question. Number one, I'm not afraid. I'm totally against it. You talk about the overall value of Pelican Marsh properties, you put metal roofs, you devalue the properties of all everybody in here. And once you open Pandora's box, and I don't even understand how Claremont would have been able to put a metal roof unless they had been opened the box, I'm not sure. It is what it is, but you open Pandora's box, you start with the HOAs, and then why not individual homes? I mean, you're going to destroy what Pelican Marsh was built upon. That's my.
Same, the metal roof that Claremont has, it's metal, but it has simulated tile on top of that. Clarify what's going on.
Okay.
Don't put everything out in the half-baked paper.
So, to your point, if you're talking truly about metal roof application started into the northern part of the country so that the snow can slide off of the roof and you don't end up with 6 feet of snow and everything collapses, which is not the case here. Metal roofs on top of which have a disadvantage when it's very windy. Wind gets underneath there, you can have the entire metal roof go up and save.
I'd like to, I live in Osprey Point where we're considering this metal roof, and quite frankly, I disagree completely with, Paul's opinion. But honestly, our board at Osprey Point, frankly, in the 21 years that I have been, this is the most qualified, dedicated board. They have done an extensive analysis. Multi-million-dollar homes that are currently being built brand new in Creighton Road are being built with metal roofs. It lasts, it has a much better lifespan, the insurance premium is reduced, and the issue with the building, etc., lifting it up, technology-wise, they've already resolved that issue. So I just want to make sure that my opinion is out there. Thank you.
I think it's the key with any detailed discussion, detailed question like that, is understanding exactly the specification.
Absolutely, yeah.
As you said, Orlando, your board came here 2 months ago.
Exactly.
A very detailed presentation, went with the design board. So for us to give any opinions about having to review those, and analyze those, would be foolhardy, really.
I agree. I think it's a question.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, we're gonna move on, but obligated to read the question. Yes, okay, one more.
Mention my name, sir, do I get?
Yes, you do.
The homes being built on Drayton Road, with metal roofs are ultra modern homes. Here we are Tuscan style.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we're going to move on. To move on.
I agree with that. Wait a minute.
Margaret, Jim.
This speaks to community character. It's huge, metal roof. What does that entail? What does that mean? If I'm on this board, I want to see it, I want to assess it, and how does it fit into the character of the community? I don't care how efficient it is or anything else. This is a Mediterranean style community. I do not want to lose the character of this community. When Claremont did stays within the character. So let's get all the information before saying, yeah, they're good or no, they're not.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, we're gonna move on beyond metal roofs, right? Okay, do you support at least 4 Pelican Marsh board members to be present at CDD meetings in the future? And those board members to be held responsible to communicate crucial information to community of Pelican Marsh monthly board meetings. I'm gonna reread it, okay? Do these candidates support at least 4 Pelican Marsh board members to be present at CDD meetings in the future? And those board members to be held responsible to communicate this information back to the community of Pelican Marsh on monthly board meetings. I can answer.
I'll volunteer to start again.
Sure.
I don't have a problem. I think the CDD, even though from what I understand, once again, is not controlled by the board, is a very important function as to our overall life in this community. Like, for example, is it the CDD who controls the appearance, not just of the gatehouses, but of the landscaping? Because if it is, I personally believe something needs to happen, because the entrances, the landscaping is not that enticing. And it relates to, once again, the comment that everybody makes about the overall value of our properties. When you compare the beauty of the entrance of our community to the other communities out there, I think we're falling behind. So sitting on the CDD meetings, yes, 4, 3, I'm not sure, but transparency back to all the members.
We're going to keep going.
So I think you have to recognize that CDD is a completely separate board, it's a completely separate entity. So I think what this question is about is, should the foundation board be responsible for mistakes made by the CDD? And I think you're asking for something that you shouldn't be asking for, which is to make the board members of the foundation responsible for bad decisions made by the CDD board. So no, I don't think every community member can participate in the CDD, just like every community member can participate in this foundation. But to ask one board to oversee or to criticize another board is a really bad idea.
Jim?
If it's an informational feedback from the CDD, I think it's a good idea for the foundation board to have a representative in each CDD meeting. I think the board can figure out, who would be responsible and all. Remember, we are responsible for the character of this community and design review. And this became a very touchy subject. Did the CDD have to come to us for approval of the changes in the gatehouses if we were responsible for the overall character for the design review of the community? Now, the legal position, as I understand it, is we couldn't turn it down, but we could vote to say we didn't approve, or we should work more closely to say, we need to get this communicated to all Pelican Marsh residents of what this plan is going to look like. And we can do our part by saying, hey, we want to know what the community thinks. Because I think that information is going to be wanted by the CDD. We don't want to fight with them. We are parallel sister organizations, but they have the overall responsibility of this community. Yes, quasi-government agency, elected, duly elected, by the residents in petition. And that extends this side of the road as well as Timberline.
Thank you, Jim.
Sandy, do you have any questions on pickleball, which is the elephant in the room?
I'm sorry.
Sandy, do you have any questions on pickleball, which is the elephant in the room?
Well, I understand that, but, we decided to go through Paul and I went through this, that's the next thing, we have fitness and the elephant in the room.
In the interest of time, I'll pass on the CDD question. I think that's.
Thank you, okay, okay,
Hold on, Sandy, I will answer that.
okay,
Me too.
Yeah,
Okay, good, Brian.
we have a need for a CDD liaison.
Yes,
Like we
yes.
have a board liaison for our tenancy project committee, committee. The failure of the gatehouses is really one of communications and messaging. And it's something that we could solve going forward.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Brian's opinion on that 100%.
agreed, okay, we're gonna move on, okay, those are the general questions, next one are fitness. And, what time do we have?
It is 3:01.
3:01, okay.
Yeah.
In fitness, there are two questions. I'm gonna read them both, and I think they can be answered together by each person as we go down the line. The first question is, do you have a plan to create a permanent spin area, either indoor or out? That's the question. And then there's some history about it. And then the second question is, this Pelican Marsh is changing and there are more active residents, which has resulted in adequate, that's the key word, space in the gym and spin, even with the recent rearrangement of equipment. What's your plan to expand the gym and provide better accommodations for spinning? Are you okay with those two together? Sure. Okay, who's next?
Can I volunteer for that first?
Yes.
Sorry about that question. We have a high-end problem in Pelican Marsh, and the high-end problem is we have a high participation. We're one of the communities that should be proud of the fact that we have so many people that want to engage and use the facilities, which is exactly why I believe that the facilities that we have are extremely valuable to the community. Obviously, there's demand by residents. There's demand by people coming in with realtors to buy new homes here. And people are asking questions about what can you do for me to provide a spin facility, what can you do for me to provide a gym facility? I think that is exactly what this board should be focused on. How do we continue to improve, maintain and improve this asset so that we can meet those demands from people that want better spin facilities? I think those are legitimate questions from a high use community.
Thank you, Jim.
It's another one of those situations that you have to put in perspective with everything else. We do not have a facility that is designed for 5 months out of the year. This is a year-round community, 5 months of that 12 months, high activity. And we will always exceed what the people want versus what we can deliver. So I think whether it's any one of these items has to be put in perspective with the total plan. What can we do? Can we improve that situation? Perhaps. I think it's an item that would fit into the planning process for the board. I can't sit here this afternoon and say, yeah, we're gonna give you more space for this or for that. Because honestly, I don't know until I see everything again, what can we do, what can we do? And we can't make that, we're not make that isolation.
Thank you, Jim.
Isolation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I'm with you all the way on that position. I think I've heard people say that roughly only 45% of the total $2,000 in Pelican Marsh use the community center. That's a number that I've heard. I'd like to get it updated. I think, going back to what Jim mentioned, our maximum capacity or utilization issue is around the high season months, 4 months, 5 months of the year. We also have to acknowledge that we have a very limited space. I mean, let's place it, and let's come to terms with that and design with a plan, how we're gonna handle that long term. That's what it means. It would be unfair to say, yes, I support this people and what the expansion of the gym without really looking at the total picture. Thank you.
I would echo that, limited space is a key factor, it's gonna get into the next question, of course, the big elephant in the room question, but I don't know much about the spin and how many people are active, but again, that is another thing that a 5-year plan or a strategic, plan would help with. We find out what the needs are, what the requirements, desires of the membership, and then plan for it.
So referencing back to the long-term plan that was completed in 2020, I know one of the things that was desired was an expansion of the gym as well as upgraded equipment. And the existing board went to College County and got approval to expand our inside space by 500 square feet already. So I'm in favor of using that space for expanding area for the spin area. Before I make a final determination, though, I would like to see how that area could possibly be used as a multi-purpose area, so that those individuals that want to use it as a gaming room, when spin class is not in session, could possibly use it as a gaming room as well.
Thank you.
The reality is that the population moving into this area is getting younger by the day. They do use physical facilities to play tennis, pickleball, fitness, spin, aerobics, all kinds of stuff. We're bursting at the seams here. If you use the fitness facilities, even if it is just to do yoga, sitting exercises, you would very quickly realize that this younger community has outgrown the space. The answer to the question is market study. How do we compare to the other neighborhoods? What do we have to offer? How competitive and relevant are we? How and what is it that we need to do to maintain this position? We have one of the best locations in all of Naples, and we need to capitalize on that. Even, and Dale Tranuve, when he says, perhaps the answer is to spend some money and go to the neighborhood, to every constituent here, and go through a special assessment. Market research will tell us.
Thank you, Paul.
I already answered that question.
Done, we're all done.
Okay.
Okay. No, okay, we're done with fitness. Paul, we're run the video? Okay, Paul is gonna run the video, for Harry. He's got to figure it out. So, everybody take the last meeting. Paul, to get it done, Paul had to go to his office. That's the first guy. I'll say a couple of things about Harry Covington. I don't know oh, there he goes. Both groups.
We've had this conversation extensively with Brian and all other people here in the room. I think the data that we're looking at is not accurate, quite frankly, and we need to curate the data. We need to vet the data. The system that we're currently using does not track all the data that we need. Some data is not even posted in the system. So we created an initiative, which by the way started this week, a subcommittee data-driven with people to work with Johan and look at the data, and whatever the data says, that's what it's gonna be. You know, so that's what's gonna drive it. I do not believe, nobody questions the trend. The trend is pickleball is growing, the growth rate of pickleball is growing, it is a popular game. We need the expansion, like we mentioned. Thank you.
Once again, my name is mentioned, so, Orlando has mentioned his concerns about the data that comes out of, court reserve. But I'm glad that you referenced the trends, because to me, at the end of the day, that's what's important. Whether or not it's pristine, to the nth degree isn't important, but the general trends towards it, the use of the pickleball courts, I don't think can be questioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think it's obviously the trends have moved towards a bigger growth of pickleball and tennis. I'm not sure I agree that tennis has diminished, but that's another question. What I would like to say though, the opportunity to say is that there's more that can be done to address the availability issue than to simply create more courts. A more efficient, effective manner of managing the courts can be done. More restrictions, I hate to use the word restrictions, but more restrictions could be placed, more attention paid to some people getting a lot more time than others. You know, it happens. And there are better ways to manage, courts. Effective use of, variables, time slots.
Thank you.
I think I kind of answered the question already in my response. I'll just point out that the question indicated that, not discounting the fact that tennis is also, growing or stable down the community. I don't think any of these would diminish.
Thank you.
The growth of pickleball is a product life cycle issue. They have had explosive growth. It cannot go on forever. You will not grow your base by 80% every year. It's a physical impossibility, mathematical impossibility. You have the need for 2 extra courts. One of the things I submitted was for you to start by implementing a 1-hour reservation system for the pickleball courts. Because your games are not as long as tennis. Start with that, see where that takes you. You have growth, tennis is not there, bocce is not there.
Thank you.
It's a great problem to have, but bursting at the seams. This is a high-end problem. So we can fix this problem, which means we have demand, we have usage, and there's clearly value in having these facilities. So, I believe pickleball is growing. I think it's growing very fast. I also believe that a lot of tennis and pickleball players like myself. And I think we can solve this problem if we will put our mind to it. We have a large community. We have the resources to do this, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I think everything's been said on the issue. It is taking the demand, taking a look at how we schedule, how we do a lot of different things. Each one of those points that are being brought up, I think, can be a factor in trying to get the balance between pickleball and maintaining the integrity of the tennis program. Remember, a dozen years ago, I came back from the villages and said to everybody here, pickleball is a coming thing. They looked at me like I was from another planet. Now, today, it's like you said, it's a problem, a great problem to have. It too will find its feet. Something else may come along and replace it. So let's try to find that balance with what we have and how we can integrate both programs and better utilize space for programs, which are one proposal was maybe utilize supports for both sports.
Thank you, Jim. Okay. Everybody covered? Okay. This is the second question. It was very close. Based on the rapid growth and high demand for pickleball, do you support adding additional pickleball courts prior to next season? And I suppose it's talking about before next season. So, you know, the question came in and I'm obligated to read it. Are we comfortable passing that question?
Yes.
Okay, rapidly. Okay, based on the presentation by the pickleball committee that outlined potential options for adding more pickleball courts, which option do you think is best and why? Now, that's a very difficult question for some of these people to ask. You know, you're either gonna walk the property and you're not on the history. Unless, I'm gonna see if any of us want to hear the answer. You want to hear the answer? Okay. Then we're gonna know what every one of these guys say on pickleball. Okay, we'll do that. Now I'm gonna read the question again, okay? Based on the presentation by the pickleball committee that outlined potential options, adding more pickleball courts, which option do you think is best and why? Okay? There's no dollar.
It's my first.
I believe.
No, Jim.
Jim is?
I don't have no, I've heard the presentation and there's more that's been added to it. I am not prepared today to make any commitment. Which one I'm not going to take. No way.
Well, never mind, there's not enough information at this time to have a good answer to that question.
I will say that I do believe there's probably 3 or 4 viable options that will not go into 7 digits for the community, that will add between 2 and 4 courts. They're everywhere from the option that you referred to, which I think is a viable option, to adding 7 courts around court 7, as I presented last month, which includes 3 courts behind court 7, relation to court 5, tennis. And then the third option, once again, I think it's a decision the community has to come to, is taking away a tennis court. I think all three of those options are viable and it's up to the community to make a decision on.
So, excuse me, I think I was scared, thank you very much. I understand that, the question was about timing, correct?
Well, the first, that's right, the first one's about time, supporting, adding a pickleball court prior to next season.
Yeah, so I think if we do the proper due diligence, we should make every effort to have those courts up and running by next season. But we cannot take away any tenants, I mean, that's what I think we should do.
Pretty hard getting construction.
Well, I
Okay,
think-
let's, hold on, thank you, Jerry, let the candidates
I
speak.
think the community see a serious effort to get this done as soon as possible. And we do the design and the work and the budgeting, and it's there. Construction delays are gonna be construction delays, so.
I know, actually, question, that question was sort of thrown out, and the next question that we answered was different.
Oh.
It was the question on which of all those 10 choices which have grown to.
I see.
Grown to a greater list of all those, which of those do you prefer?
I agree with Jim, that it's hard to raise with that right now, all the different options we have, and I was limiting myself to answer the question about the timing, and I think I've already.
Thank you. Next.
Oh,
Paul,
I would like to add one element to this question, and I will answer it. I think it's a very bad idea to add pickleball courts along court 7 or any other court. Pickleball should be contained within its own environment. It's very noisy. Not just the ball against the paddle. It's a very social game. It's very noisy and disturbing for tennis players. I am a tennis player, I'm not a pickleball player, but I am totally in favor of finding the space, and I brought a solution which is very reasonable. It should cost less than the famous $250,000 to get it done, and yes, I would do it this summer, and next season they would have 6 courts. And the other reality, and I'm here year round, is that in the summertime, tennis courts are busier than pickleball courts. So don't take away any tennis facilities, don't take away watching facilities. Do not gamble the future of the community center either. Keep your options open to the growth of this facility.
thank you, Paul.
So much of my career has been in building capital projects, I think the best way to approach this project is in a couple of stages. I think that the need to get some pickleball courts in quickly is real. And I think what we could do is put a couple of pickleball courts in fairly quickly, and then do the next step, which will take a little more time and more money, to then get to the ideal goal, which some of those plans include some really good options. But those are not the fastest options. So unfortunately, the ideal option will take a little bit of time and money. But it shouldn't prevent us from putting a couple of courts in on an interim basis, working towards the second year, getting to co-locating all those.
I disagree with that approach. I think that the blanket approach is a patch here and a patch there. I'd like to support Paul's opinion. It should be done all one time, all in one zone, for everybody's benefit.
Okay, thank you, Orlando, thank you, everyone.
Orlando got to speak, so I just want to clarify, Paul, and once again, this requires a lot of step back thought. But the concept of adding the courts behind court 7 would also include either the same year or the following year, flipping court 1 and court 7, so all the pickleball courts were together and contiguous. So not a patchwork perspective or separating from the tennis community, et cetera. Just to clarify that particular option, if it is viable.
Thank you, Brian.
My name was mentioned, so I'm asking you to make your answer.
Thank you, everybody.
This is an expensive plan. I agree with Uwe, there's a short-term solution which is cheap, and then we need to go back to the drawing board and look at the long-term plan for this entire community.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next question, okay? Are there any circumstances under which you would support taking another existing tennis court in order to add new pickleball courts? Say, I know, but again, I'm obligated to read the questions that are submitted by residents. Only the messenger here. Okay, it was a lead-in, but consider questions that come up. If somebody would like to answer that specific
Orlando's
question.
first on this round.
I say no, and it's not necessary.
Yeah, me too. Same.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Same.
Okay, okay,
I just want to clarify, I think there is an option. I'm not saying it's an option I support and say, but there is a viable option that at least should be considered and voted on by the overall community. If the new foundation board feels as if it's one of the better options to evaluate. I just think you can't throw it away at this point.
Can I ask a question? Why don't you want to take away the budget?
hold on, this is not a give and take. Let me get through the questions, and then we're gonna open up to the floor, and then there'll be some other questions. So let's read this right now, I'm gonna read the next question. Okay, next question is, do you think renting tennis or pickleball courts and other facilities in the area is a viable solution to meet the need for more courts? Should I read that again? Yes. Do you think, pardon me, do you think renting tennis or pickleball courts and other facilities in the area is a viable solution to meet the needs for more courts? And it doesn't say temporarily or permanently, that was the question the way it came in. So who's first? Who wants to take a shot at it? We'll go around.
I'll take a shot at the person. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you clarified temporarily or permanently. I don't think it's a good long-term solution because once again, it separates the pickleball facilities. I think it's a very interesting option to be able to have if it does indeed take a year or two to implement the plan, the long-term plan. I mean. So if it comes down to having 4 pickleball courts or 0 pickleball courts here next year, or having 8 because we can get 4 somewhere else, so forth, I think it's something that should be looked at.
I'd like to support George in that sense. I think it's a short-term solution. For those of us who want to kind of think about soon, quick, for the season, we can lease those courts. They're nearby here. They're going to be brand new 20 pickleball courts. And then we have time to work on the long-term fix.
Okay, we're gonna keep on going, Brian.
As everybody indicated, there is a mechanism to put in, courts in a fairly quick, manner, even if they're not part of the long-term plan. I'm not in favor of, sending our residents to outside our community for amenities that they pay for to be here.
But already bring tennis players and other tennis facilities because the courts are always packed in the morning. In the afternoon, I have no problems.
That's right.
But on the other hand, as Brian said, there's going to be a 16 pickleball courts just down here on Vanderbilt Beach Road, 6 of which are going to be accessible by everybody in this room.
This is not, just switching yet. You have to hold on, everybody. Soon as you get one more question, and then we'll open it up to the floor. Thank you.
So my feeling was back to the asset value community. I think our priority should be building this asset value right here, maximizing it as a short-term stopgap, as a fix for a few months to go to another facility, sure. But our focus needs to be on building this facility and getting maximum value.
Any more comments? I'm gonna open it up to the floor. Hold on. We have a video of a hearing, however. It's not a video, we're gonna only be able to hear what Gary.
You can hear the audio, okay?
Okay, we're gonna play.
Everybody be quiet, please, they can play, all right? All right.
But I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak. I live in Savannah Development with my wife, Marie. We live here 6 to 7 months a year, and we also have a home in Akron, Ohio. I'm an experienced executive as a long-term president and owner of a machinery manufacturing company with plants in the US, Canada, and the UK. We supply machines and technical support to locations in 65 countries. I'm a well-known industry presenter around the world. I served on boards for the United Way, I served 6 years on an International Credit Association board with chapters in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. I served on 2 HOAs and the advisory board for the School of Engineering at Ohio University. I'm an unbiased candidate. I'm not a golf, tennis, nor pickleball player, but I understand the importance of excellent sports facilities here. I'm an active user of the fitness center and occasional bocce player. My principal hobby is collecting and maintaining Porsche automobiles. Recently, I also raced Porsches. My goal is to serve Pelican Marsh as a board member who thinks clearly, decisively, and with integrity. I will emphasize fiscal responsibility while maintaining and improving facilities, amenities, and the quality of the Pelican Marsh experience. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, we are
That's
now.
one of the questions at all.
No, he's not, he's not a
It's
script.
okay, community.
That's a pre-recorded video. He finished.
Okay, we're gonna open this up to the floor. We ask you, raise your hand, I'll recognize you. You can come up here, state your name and what community you're in, and please, don't ask multiple questions. Ask a specific question, and need be, so everybody will have an opportunity to ask a question, so let's come back in rotation.
Sandy, how long should each candidate have?
Okay. Say 1 minute.
1 minute.
1 minute to answer, it, and when the questions are being asked, we'll do the same way here. We'll start with Jim, and the next question we'll keep on going around. And keep track of that for me. Yes, do you have a question about procedure?
No.
Oh, first question. Okay, first question, come on up. Mark Solenko,
True Lakes. I have a very simple question. By a show of hands, I would like to know which of you will support not removing a tennis court?
Not removing it, not removing.
Excellent.
Thank you, you made my choice.
I just want to clarify that question since I have a minute.
Yes.
I didn't use your name.
As I indicated, you're not running here.
Hi.
Go ahead, Kate. Go ahead, Brian, you have 1 minute.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned a month ago, as I mentioned several times today, I think it's up to the community to evaluate the options that are on the table and decide what's the best for the entire community as a whole. To make a decision on a single, item right now without looking at the whole picture, I think is a little short-sighted.
Thank you, Brian. Next question. No questions. Oh, yeah, okay. Hold on, we have a question back here. Hold on. We'll figure out somehow, get you a mic over there. Sure. I can make it.
I'm Paula Fetterman, I live in Muirfield, I'm on the finance committee here, and I have what I think is a very simple question. We live in a very hurricane-prone community, and the prognosticators are predicting that we should expect an extremely active hurricane season this year. So we also are unfortunately in a position where our insurance probably wouldn't cover much wind damage. Excuse me, I have asthma. So if we do have significant hurricane damage this year, how would you prioritize fixing the community center and any damage to any other facilities over expanding the facilities?
Okay. If I can clarify that question a little bit, we're separating, the question was about the foundation, the 5 acres of the foundation as opposed to all of the common area. Are just this 5 acres, because the rest of it is covered by the CED. Who would like to answer that question? What's the priority, expansion of amenities or being prepared for hurricane? No, repairing hurricane damage, repairing hurricane damage.
You have to deal with the damages that are done versus the expansion. You've got insurance that cover a lot of it. the other thing is not mentioned in here, the roof of this building is going to be replaced very shortly. It has to be, because the insurance is driving us this way, and the only way to protect the whole community financially is to replace the roof. That's the number one priority. Everything else falls into the line behind it. Anytime damages are done to this community center, that's a number one priority versus any kind of expansion.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. I support Jim's entirely. Repair the European damages first.
Yeah, the health and safety of the community and of course, the preservation and maintenance of the homes, those people's would be a top priority over expansion. And
Absolutely protecting our existing assets, definitely.
The question is a non-question, but Jim, I think, I believe you made a misstatement. If it's deemed to be water damage, it will not be covered by the insurance. If it's deemed to be wind damage, it will be covered by the insurance. So if a hurricane comes all the way, or hurricane water driven will come all the way across 21 and does damage to this building, it will lead to the part of the community and it will require a special assessment.
I've lived here for 44 years in Collier County, and I've never seen hurricane water come this far. So I'll gamble on the fact that it's not going to, hurricane, not going to, water, not going to damage the building.
It could come here because I'll give you one example. The golf club at Bay Colony is in the flood zone. And if you look at the forecast put out by the Insurance Institute, hurricane water could come right here or upwards.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, is that question answered? Are you satisfied? Okay, next question, please come on. Jerry, we got her. Hold on a second, Jerry.
Great. Okay, I don't have a question initially, but I think you have to understand, and I hope you guys all know, we have 1,914 units here. Okay, there'll never be any more than 1,914 units. So the population growth will always be attested to those 1,914 units. So to expand, you expand on needs for a temporary period of time. The other side of the coin is that we only have the 5 acres. If you guys went outside here, I parked illegally out there today. There are no parking spaces. Okay, the guy that did this analysis that we have additional spaces available, he cut a lot of classes in school, and the guys that are looking down at the county made even more cuts. Okay, whatever you do, relate to the fact of what you're going to do convenience-wise for the 5 months. Okay, so you guys are all asking about judgments, what you're going to vote on, what you're going to vote on. Take a look at the analysis. The other side of the coin, guys, is remember one thing. There's 1,300 families here that subsidize everybody else. Okay, so anything you do over and above, okay, is subsidized by people that don't use what you play with. When we built this building, okay, one of the difficulties were who's going to use it. But we had this situation where we had enough funds available. We only had to borrow $1 million out of the 4, and we had the ability to analyze what our income stream was from resales. We paid for it, as Jim said, in 2 years instead of 3. So take a look at all of those factors. Don't make the situation any worse. The one thing you might want to do is educate the realtors, not to oversell this place. Okay, people come in here are blind. Okay, they're on an emotional high. They see the trees, they see the green, they think everything is hunky-dory. So if they're interested in playing tennis 5 days a week, somebody's got to tell them it's not available 5 days a week for 5 months a year.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. Please come up. Right on.
I think there is.
Okay, hold on. Come on up. But please remember to answer, we're going to answer over here from the candidates. Don't the candidates want to answer, Jerry?
I just think that what you bring up in terms of parking is a key question for the community. And there are things that I think we can do short-term and while still looking at long-term solutions. When we have a big event like this, it's very problematic. On a daily basis, there are things we can do from a court perspective, such as staggering start times between the different sports. There's no reason that tennis and pickleball have to start all their games at 8 a.m. Like, if we stagger a little bit, we won't crash into each other as we're trying to fight for a parking spot. There are things we can do in terms of the vendor trucks. I'm not sure if we really need to take 5 spots for vendor trucks in the morning during the peak of season. Things like HRA meetings, CDD meetings, if there's a way that we could schedule them in the afternoons versus the morning. There are simple things that we can do to try to address this. And I do think that we need to look at some of the long-term options that we looked at for parking for several years, going all back to the 90s, from what I understand, in terms of options across the street. We can't lose sight of those.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
I am Cindy Villarosa. 5 years ago, I came here and pushed for us to get pickleball. Well, it's here. We started with a handful of people who did it, and we are now up to over 750 people. These are Johan's numbers. These aren't my numbers. These aren't anybody's numbers. So my question to you, Johan has come and told everyone how many pickleball players we have, how many tennis players we have. He's also been to the tennis committee with the statistics on the usage, on the time. He's been to the pickleball committee on the usage on the time. Have each one of you seen the statistics on how many people play, on the time played, and the percentage of usage of courts? So have each one of you seen those statistics? Because you're here saying what you're going to do and what you're going to do and what you're not going to do and you're not going to take away. First of all, an amenity is tennis. That's an amenity. No one is saying get rid of tennis. So I want to know, have each one of you spoken to Johan or seen the statistics? Because you're making decisions, and I want to make sure you're making decisions that are smart and that are for the betterment of all of Pelican Marsh. So if each one of you seen those statistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim, are you going to go first?
I would tell you this, I would look at all the statistics, I would look at all the viable plans. And I would not make any prejudgments on any of this until I have a thorough understanding of what it is, what the trends are. I can go to Mark Gerber, he can tell me statistically what it is, but it doesn't deal with the emotions of what the people are involved in tennis and pickleball and volleyball. So I guarantee you, I will do my due diligence on it, but I'm not gonna make any commitment today on how it will be on one project.
Just asked if you saw all the statistics. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, I have seen the data, and let me share this with you. So we asked Johan this week sometime, I think it was Tuesday. So where'd you get the 700 pickleball players from? And he goes, well, these are unique players who have at least played once in the last 12 months.
Same for tennis. Same for tennis.
Simple that. So the question that we asked you also is, why don't we drill down the data to see the frequency? How many are playing 2, 3, 4 times a day, a week? And let's see what is the size of the universe, which, by the way, we did do that work, I think it was end of 2022, 2023, and we looked at a curve that showed the frequency. And only in tennis, so you know, on average, around 120 players play tennis more than 2-3 times a week. So the message here, Cindy, is that the numbers are going to be the numbers. Let's bet the numbers. Let's look at it. Let's drill down. And I think in pickleball, there is a scheduling of the games that we would probably optimize around. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen numbers, as Orlando said, I think there's more to be seen by vetting those numbers, by digging deeper into usage, especially from an equity standpoint. How often are some people playing versus others? How often are people reserving courts versus others?
I have seen the data, and I think it comes back to what others have indicated before, that you have to look at the trends.
I've seen the data, but I don't need to see the data to see reality. And when I love numbers, as I said earlier, I don't want to get into a situation where it's paralysis by analysis. Pickleball needs 2 extra courts, for sure. That's a reality. And that's why, once again, I am in favor of adding in the very short term 2 pickleball courts at the expense of no other activity, period. At a very reasonable cost.
Cindy, I've seen the numbers. Pickleball is doing fabulous. And I think pickleball will continue to be a high use sport. That's why I believe we need to invest in this community. I believe it's a mistake to pick tennis players against pickleball players, because to do any of the elegant solutions that were in those 9 options presented a few weeks ago, we need more than $250,000. Which means we need to go back to the community as all the users or all the supporters of building this asset. And if we start hitting people against each other, it will slow us down.
Totally agree, 100%.
Thank you. Okay. Questions? Oh, question right here. I ring the bell.
I'm multifaceted here. There's been a lot of talk about going back to the community.
Time's up.
There's been a lot of talk about going back to the community and getting inputs and answering questions and, you know, being very transparent and democratic and all these good things that all politicians say. But how would you actually do that if you run for?
Do what?
I think I was clear. How would you go back and ask the community and get the community's input on your decision? Is that clear or not? I can restate it.
Okay, Chris, can I come back to that? Sure. So I believe that it's really important for the board to communicate on an ongoing basis with the community. It's not just a matter, if you went out today and you just asked the community to vote on one or the other issue, you want more parking, you want to spend X dollars. The chances are you're not going to get the result of it. You have to go into the exercise of communicating to the community why this is valuable, why this adds to property values, why this benefits them. And then you need to state, we want to do this, and here's why we want to do it, and here's the benefit back to you. If you fail to do that, you're not going to get the outcome you vote. And so I think it's really important that we go out to the community and communicate. And encourage more community members to participate in board meetings and or use Pelican Marsh brief to reach out to residents and let them know why and how we're going to do this and why we want.
Thank you. Paul, we're working our way back. Paul?
I've heard several times now this idea of increasing property values. I was involved in a board where they wanted to make such promises. Despite the validity of the presentation, I voted against it. Nobody can tell me what the stock market is going to do tomorrow morning. Forget what the stock market, bonds, etc., are going to be doing in a couple of years. I will never put my name at the bottom of a page guaranteeing, promising that our property values are going to go up because we can spend more money.
Rich, what I would suggest, let's say there's a dozen proposals. I think today was the deadline for people to submit any additional ideas. Let's say there's a dozen out there. I think foundation board, the new foundation board has to look at those 12 and do some kind of decision model. You know, I know Lando's mentioned he's using professionally, and I've used them before as well, look at the benefits and the cost, and trying to be the adults in the room to narrow down the 12 items to 3 or 4 that are viable to the community, and then take those 3 or 4 and do a survey to the community of which ones they think most fits the needs of the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Gouveia said it right, and I think to me, it goes back again to having a plan, a long-term plan, one that's communicated well to the community, and then you'll get feedback. Surveys are also another way to get feedback. And transparency. So how would you be transparent? Well, you are, as you communicate, and you push it to the rest of your board members to communicate, early.
I'd like to agree with all of our, aspiring board members here, in particular the board. I think that no one like says can guarantee, a specific return, specific value. but we can basically be competitive, defend our property by, in this case, increasing the amenities of the law, which will keep attracting the younger people who know to take the law, the ones who are migrating, for example, in my case, maybe 10, 15 years from now, from tennis to legal form. Thank you.
A lot of good suggestions. It gets under, we have mechanisms in place where we try to get as much input back from the community. You can have planning workshops that are open to the community, that have a chance to participate, you can have survey devices, you have the president's council. So you try to take all these things and put forth plans to get maximum community input. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, maybe you'll get 1,000 people out of 3,800 that will respond to you and offer some advice or say, this is a good thing to do. And then when you make the decision, you'll probably have 2,500 people tell you you made the wrong decision. So I think all board members past and people are running, I think the boys try to do the best they can communicate to the community. And so any one of us, it ends up on this next board, I think we're committed to do that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment?
The bar is open in, Quonset.
Well, almost. Almost, but me. No more questions, from the floor, answer the phone. No more questions from the floor. Okay, first, history lesson. Pardon? How about a history lesson? I'd like to take a few minutes here. First, of course, I want to thank our Olympic timekeeper.
I'm available for parties.
Before I get to the candidates, I want to thank Paul. Many of the issues that we discuss here and try to work out, when it all comes down to execution, it's Paul. And so I think we owe him. Voting, you have to get your ballots in no later than March 28th at 7 p.m. We encourage you to tell your neighbors, ballots have gone out, there's a ballot box in the office, they can drop them off, or you can mail them in, and then have to come to the meeting, and we'll see where we go from there in the voting. Okay, I'd like to thank the candidates, significant others, for allowing them to spend this time away from their family. You guys did a great job. Thank you, candidates. Neighbors. That's it. Go home. And the fire's open.
Thank you.